Hey everyone, welcome to Major Hype. I'm your host, Maxwell, where every single day, Monday through Friday, we do a show about entrepreneurship, real estate, and money. Today's no different, so let's get started. A housing bubble or a housing crash? Now, the talk of a bubble has been going real crazy lately as the cost of buying a home has increased. I mean, it's more now than ever in recent times, only because everything costs a lot more money. You know, interest rates are at 6.75, and matter of fact, they just announced another 0.75 increase, meaning that it's gonna cost even more. They're raising interest rates to cool off the demand on real estate. Is it gonna help? Is it gonna hurt? We don't know. The Federal Reserve had interest rates almost to an all-time low just earlier this year, and now we're over 7% interest rate on loans, meaning that if you could afford a house in probably the 500 range before $500,000 range, you probably could only afford about a $300,000 house now. So that's going to cool down demand. U.S. new home sales have reduced every single month in 2022, and that ain't looking too good. But the Fed say this is what they have in plan. So is it going to work? It's no secret that the housing market played a big role in the Great Recession from 2008. But these two markets are completely different. Completely different. As a pilot, I like to say the real estate market's probably going to come in for a soft landing and not the crash that we had in 2008. Now I'll show you and share with you some of the things that I think were fundamentally different than 2008. Matter of fact, we had cheap loans. Everybody know if you had a pulse, you can get a loan back then. They also had predatory lending practices. We all know about that. No doc loans. If you worked anywhere, if you had any type of W-2, or maybe not even a W-2, you can get a loan. They also had complex engineer financing, basically saying some tricky stuff that led people to a bubble of a 3, 4, 5-year fixed rate. And then boom, the arm kicks in and they no longer can afford it. Combine that with, low employment. That just created disaster. Not only that, a lot of the big index funds or, your pension was tied to, investment was tied to that 30-year fix, those mortgages. There's a lot of pension funds that were tied to mortgages. Some of the biggest in the country, like Cal State Pension Fund, were tied to mortgages. So when you started to see the default in mortgages, then everybody started to see in their retirement account got lower and lower and lower. So fundamentally, I think the market is much stronger. We're going to see a correction, no doubt in mind. We're in a recession now. We're not officially in a recession, but the telltale signs and everything shows that we're in a recession. We need 2 back-to-back quarters of negative GDP from the previous quarter in order to call it a recession technically. But we're heading into a recession. Demand is high, interest rates are high right now, and inflation is at an all-time high where gas is just completely ridiculous. So I don't believe we're going to go into a crash, but there will be a correction. And if you're over leveraged, you will feel it tighten. And if you have an arm on your mortgage, you're going to feel that belt pop. You're going to spend more money to pay your mortgage. So hopefully you're not in that category, but we're going to come in for a soft landing when it comes to housing. I know a lot of you, like I have heard that, everybody's buying up these properties. These big corporations are buying up properties, and we're going to become a nation of renters. And I started to think, what would that look like? So I wanted to do some research and say, who has the most renters in its country? And believe it or not, Switzerland is at 68%. But one of the biggest, and I think the biggest economy in Europe, Germany, is at 64% of its residents live in rental properties instead of owning their own home. Well, what does that look like for the future of America? Right now, America sits at around 37% of its residents and households are renters. If that number creeps up closer towards the 60s and the 70s, like Switzerland, Germany, things will drastically start looking different. I wonder what the economy would look like then if a majority of Americans are actually renting homes from big corporations versus actually owning that property. Remember, there's a famous saying that says most millionaires became millionaires because of real estate. Well, it's not really real estate investing. It's the equity in their property that made them a millionaire. So if we become a country mainly based on renters, will there be less millionaires, less disposable income? And right now we're playing with trillions of dollars of equity that we've pulled out from our homes to be able to go out and stimulate the economy. So I don't believe anytime soon we're getting there. But if you know anything about Atlanta, I believe in January, 33% of the houses that sold in January went to big corporations, meaning that they're going to be rentals. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't become a nation of renters. And if we do, maybe we can take some advice from Germany. Have you ever heard of the word BIPs? Like smart people coming around, you say, yep, the Fed's just raised the interest rate by 75 BIPs. Essentially, basis points is what they're talking about. And 75 points is 0.75%. And that's exactly what the Feds just did today. They raised the interest rates by 75 bips. Now, a lot of people are thinking, okay, money is going to cost more, consumers' debt's going to cost more, business loans are going to cost more. But one of the biggest ones is mortgages are going to cost more. And you're probably thinking, okay, great, not a big deal. We went from 6, 7 to a little over 7. Well, there's this thing called debt to income ratio. And during the last recession, they tightened those guidelines a lot with acts like Dodd-Frank and other things to make sure that we started to lending to smarter buyers and buyers that were more qualified. So with the debt to income ratio, the average debt to income ratio is typically 43% is what the highest you can get to be a borrower, but lenders like you to be somewhere around 36%. And I'll put up a simple math equation here so you can see how to figure your own debt to income ratio, but I'm telling you it really affects your buying power, and this is what I mean. If you qualify 4 months ago for a $300,000 house, you probably are approved for somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000 house. But guess what? Where are you going to find a $150,000 to $200,000 house at? Pretty much nowhere. There's very few places that actually have houses like that. So you are going to lose your buying power, essentially keeping you as a renter. This is going to be interesting to see what happens, but this is intentional. The Fed lowers and higher the rate to be able to control basically the housing market, not other consumer loans and business loans. So keep an eye on this. And if you locked in your rate an hour ago, congratulations to you. If you didn't, it's going to cost you a little bit more. But most people are still going to go out and buy this. And all they're going to do is refinance in 4 to 5 years when the interest rate gets back down. But pay attention to your DTI, your debt to income ratio, so that you qualify for the maximum amount that you can afford. Joe Biden sent a letter today and he said some pretty tough stuff to the oil refineries. Will it do anything? I doubt it, but they set to meet this week. And I know everybody watching this is feeling it at the pump. The other day I had to swipe my credit card twice in order to fill up. I haven't had that done in a while, and I'm only driving an Escalade. And that's pretty crazy because gas prices right now at an average of $5 a gallon nationwide. But the oil refineries have tripled their profits since the war between Russia and Ukraine has started. I don't know what they're going to say, but Joe Biden had said something the other. He said, ExxonMobil made more money than God this year. That was his exact quote. I'm not sure where he was going with that, but that's pretty crazy. The letter says that roughly 3 million barrels of day refined capacity around the world has gone offline since the pandemic began. U.S. refineries has fell below 800,000 barrels a day in 2020, meaning that there's just a lot less gas out there, a lot less oil, meaning that the demand is going to be super high and we're going to be paying it at the pumps. Do you think that oil refineries should be raking in record profits while the rest of the country suffers? I don't know. I mean, I am a capitalist. Most people are capitalists, but like I always said, I'm a fair capitalist. There's a point where, you're going to get too greedy and you get popped. And let's not forget, most of these oil companies got a bailout from 2008 from taxpayers' money. What about a little bit of relief for us right now? Here are the 5 best and the 5 worst places for first-time home buyers in America. Now, I just put out a list the other day that I didn't create that talked about the most overvalued markets in America today. People went bonkers. I was like, yo, why is my city on here? Like, yo, where'd you get your information from? I don't do the studies. The studies are done by universities and people that put this out all the time. And Bankrate has released Monday their annual ranking of the best cities for first-time home buyers. Now, I didn't memorize this list, so I'm going to just read this list off and why they say so. But Western cities, including Los Angeles and Seattle, were near the bottom. Pittsburgh ranked number 1 near the top with non-coastal metro areas. So let's go through this. The winner and the top 5 best rappers alive, the top places for first-time home buyers to buy. The winner was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they say because the affordability in that area is pretty good. That's pretty cool. The median home prices in the first quarter were $169,000. That's pretty cool. And the next one, now keep in mind, these are both cold cities. I will never move to neither one of these. Minneapolis, Minnesota, perform well because of their low unemployment rate. I guess everybody's got a job up there. That's pretty good. The next one is Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, Cincinnati has been booming. A lot of Ohio cities have been booming, and they're pretty affordable. And we'll see the upside again like they had in the old steel days. They'll see it soon. Cincinnati did well because of its affordability and safety, and for its wellness and culture. This is some interesting stuff. I didn't know they put that in the ranking. Number 4 is Kansas City metro area. The market tightens, which looks for home inventory and how fast it's sold, more related to the market, they're measured than better. I have no idea what that means, but it's number 4. And number 5 was Buffalo. Buffalo had a solid score in affordability for market tightness. So I guess that it doesn't fluctuate high, it doesn't fluctuate low, it kind of stays in the bubble. That's kind of like a market item. We don't get crazy here, crazy there. So let me read that back to you. Number 1's Pittsburgh, then you got Minneapolis, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Ohio, Kansas City metro area, Buffalo, New York, all cold places, I'm not going. And the losers, which you probably are waiting for, the bottom 5, the places you should not go buy a house if you're a first-time home buyer. Anybody want to guess? Drum roll, please. LA. Don't move to LA. Number 2, Las Vegas, because everybody from LA has been moving to Las Vegas. Seattle, Washington, another overpriced, wet, coldy place. It's a cool place to visit, though. Riverside, California, and San Jose, Wait, is this writer hate California? 3 out of the 5 of the bottom are in California. So just go to Texas, I guess. You ever thought about reinventing yourself? That's what a lot of cities that are doing now, because cities that were so high on the list and desired places to live to during the steel era are now having to reinvent themselves into what people are calling remotevilles. Now think about this. Work from home people have increasingly become more and more, and as companies get smarter and realize they don't have to spend those huge office space. Remember I talked about Pinterest paying almost $90 million to get out of their lease? That's a lot of money. So these companies are now taking that off of their EBITDA, taking that lease out of there and saying people can work from home, and now people are working from home. But could you imagine, used to working in Silicon Valley and moving to Buffalo, New York? Yeah, that's one of the cities in the last 70 years has saw its population cut in half from nearly 500,000 to less than 250,000 people. But they say we are a climate resistant city, meaning we got fresh water and we're always cold. I'm pretty sure that's not what they meant, but they do got fresh water up there. But the thing is, would you move to Buffalo making California money, Silicon Valley money, and live very, very desirable places? It was also on that top 5 list of places that you should move to, but it's becoming more and more popular. Cities on the fringe, on the outskirts of other cities, small towns, are saying we'll just become Remoteville. People are going to come here, buy houses, our population is going to grow, they're going to pay taxes. So I wonder, if you live in an expensive city right now, would you move to one of these Remotevilles and collect that cake? Because that's what a lot of people are doing. And in the foreseeable future, a lot of the big companies have said, you know what, you can stay at home or stay wherever you are. Matter of fact, I know a lot of people overseas right now and their employer thinks that they're in America, but they're still getting their job done, but they're living with American wages in underdeveloped countries, living like kings and queens. So whatever floats your boat, but Remoteville might be something you need to look into in the future, especially if you're doing real estate and you really don't need to be in the place that you're working in. Or maybe you're a software coder or developer and you make California money, but you're living in Buffalo. Something to think about. Remoteville, would you move there? The S&P 500 is in a bear market, meaning that it's hibernating. Remember, bears sleep, and that's what they mean. It's like going back, it's retreating, because investors are less likely or less willing to actually pay for overpriced stock and more willing to put their money in bonds where they seem to be less riskier. And now that the Feds have raised the interest rates, actually pay more than some of these actual stocks. Think about the interest rates just jumping to over 7%. That seems like a good return on a 10-year bond. Now, I don't know what the 10-year bond prices are or anything like that, but think about this. The reason why there was so much liquidity on the streets is because interest rates were so cheap. Think about it. So not only do the feds raise the interest rates for housing, but they lower and raise it because money flows in different ways. So if you're getting 6, 7% on a bond, which is amazing if you can get that, if you can get that money in a bond, then why put it in a stock if you're a billionaire and risk this or that? So it's a more safer investment, and they start to take their money out of the stocks and put it into more Federal Reserve bonds and stuff like that. So that's another way that you need to be thinking about where money is flowing. I think it's pretty interesting to know, but I think there's a lot more places that big people, big boy investors, big girl investors are putting their money coming up. But the S&P 500 is clearly in a bear market, meaning that people are selling and holding on and waiting. But this could be seen as an opportunity for you. Stack your money, wait on the sideline, pick some stocks that you love, pick some stocks that you're going to need and use. And nobody knows the real bottom, but as it gets to a place where you feel comfortable, slowly start to trickle into that stock. Don't dump it all at once, but trickle into that stock and get in that stock at a lower price. And typically, people have seen 20% returns when there is a correction in the market. So you can see a 20% return whenever it decides to return. But the S&P 500 is in a bear market, so take advantage of it. All right, guys, so that's today's episode of Major Hype. Don't forget to catch me here every single day, Monday through Friday. Turn on the notifications after you hit the subscribe button so you know exactly when I'm dropping content. New hot fire coming your way every single day, not only here at the desk, but also in the field, breaking down real estate deals and much more. So share this video with someone if you like it. Help me get more subscribers because I love y'all and I want more input from you. So comment below and tell me what you like. What topics do you want me to cover? Tell me, because I actually lay in bed at night and I read these comments. I see you guys that be joking, but I'll be reading the comments. So leave your input. I really care for what you got to say, and I'm going to keep giving you hot fire on these videos. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.